Somewhere on this planet, a billionaire sleeps suspended 40 meters above crashing ocean waves, supported by a single concrete column the width of a telephone pole. One bad calculation, one structural flaw, and the whole thing drops into the sea. But he paid over $30 million to live there anyway, and when you see what's inside, you'll understand exactly why. These aren't just houses, they're declarations of war against gravity, logic, and everything architects said was impossible. Join us, and let's discover the 10 most insane, most beautiful, and most jaw-dropping luxury villas ever built on Earth. Let's go. Number 13. The One Bel Air. Picture the White House. Now double it. Now put it on top of a Hollywood hill. Wrap it in white marble and floor-to-ceiling glass, and surround it on 3 sides with a moat of water like a medieval fortress for the ultra-rich. That's the One in Bel Air, Los Angeles, and it is the single most ambitious residential structure ever attempted in American history. Originally valued at nearly $500 million, this wasn't just a home, it was a statement, a threat, a full declaration that one human being had accumulated enough power to build their own private empire above an entire city. The property spans over 100,000 square feet. To give you a sense of that scale, imagine filling an entire city block with a building, then adding another half a city block on top of that. That's where one person was supposed to sleep. Inside, the numbers become surreal. 5 swimming pools, a private nightclub buried deep in the lower floors, a bowling alley, a full-service beauty salon, a 30-car garage, a 5,000-bottle wine cellar, and a 360-degree view that sweeps from the Pacific Ocean on one side to the snow-capped San Gabriel Mountains on the other. Standing on the main terrace, the entire city of Los Angeles spreads beneath you like a blinking carpet of 10 million lives, all of them smaller than yours. The developer, Niall Niami, spent years building this monument to excess, and the project nearly destroyed him financially. It sold at auction in 2022 for $126 million, still the highest residential sale in California history. But the real story of the One isn't the money, it's the ambition. It's the absolute refusal to accept limits. Someone looked at a hillside above Los Angeles and decided the only appropriate response was to build a modern Olympus. And somehow, shockingly, they actually did it.
Number 12. Falling water. Before there were glass towers hanging over Pacific cliffs or carbon fiber pods floating above glaciers, one man changed the entire conversation about what architecture could dare to be. And he did it in the middle of a Pennsylvania forest in 1939. Frank Lloyd Wright was given a commission to build a weekend home for the Kaufman family near a waterfall called Bear Run. Every single engineer on the project expected him to position the house facing the waterfall, the way you'd hang a painting across from a couch. Wright did something that nearly gave those engineers cardiac arrests. He built the house directly on top of the waterfall. Using a series of cantilevered concrete platforms that jut aggressively outward from a central stone core, falling water doesn't sit beside nature, it fuses with it. The horizontal concrete slabs mimic the natural rock ledges of the streambed below, so the house almost looks like geology, like something that grew there over 1 million years rather than something humans bolted together in a few months. The sound of rushing water isn't background noise in this house. It comes up through the stone floors. It vibrates through the walls. The waterfall is literally the heartbeat of the building, felt at your feet every single second you're inside. Wright proved something the entire architectural world had considered impossible, that a structure could be simultaneously dangerous, poetic, and deeply respectful of its natural environment. Falling water has since survived floods, structural concerns, and decades of engineering doubt. It stands today as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the grandfather of extreme architecture, the house that taught the world that the most terrifying locations produce the most immortal buildings.
Number 11. Capitol Hill Residence. Deep inside a birch and pine forest outside Moscow, Russia, something landed that has no business existing on this planet. It's not a house in any traditional sense. It's a white, fluid, organically curved structure that looks exactly like an alien spacecraft that made an emergency landing between the trees and just never left. This is the Capitol Hill Residence, and it holds a distinction that no other building on Earth can claim. It is the only private residence ever designed by Zaha Hadid, the Iraqi-British architect known universally as the Queen of the Curve, the woman who made straight lines feel like a personal insult to human potential. Hadid's signature is the complete elimination of hard angles. Every surface flows into the next. The walls don't stop, they melt. The ceilings don't begin, they emerge. Walking through this structure feels less like entering a building and more like stepping inside a living organism. But the true weapon of this house, the detail that separates it from every other luxury residence on the planet, is the periscope tower. The master bedroom doesn't sit on the ground like a normal room. It sits elevated on a slender concrete column rising 22 meters into the air, punching clean through the forest canopy, lifting the sleeping space above the tree line entirely. The owner wakes up above the fog, above the leaves, above everything, with nothing visible but blue sky and slow-moving clouds, completely disconnected from the ground, the forest, and the world below. It is the ultimate fantasy of elevation, not just physically higher, but existentially untouchable.
Number 10. The Invisible House. In the middle of Joshua Tree Desert in California, where the temperature regularly hits 115 degrees Fahrenheit and the landscape looks like the surface of Mars, someone built a house specifically designed to not exist. The Invisible House is a 70-meter-long rectangular structure, roughly the size of a full city block laid on its side, that is wrapped entirely in high-tech mirrored glass from ground to roofline. Every surface reflects the rocks, the scrub brush, the ancient Joshua trees, the infinite blue sky. The building absorbs the desert visually and throws it back at you so perfectly that from 100 meters away, you genuinely cannot tell there's a building there at all. It is a magic trick performed at architectural scale. But here's where it gets genuinely mind-bending. From inside the house, the mirrored walls are completely transparent. The people living within see a full 360-degree panoramic view of untouched Californian wilderness in every direction. They see everything, but no one outside can see them at all. You can stand 10 meters from this house and look directly at the wall and see only your own reflection staring back. The privacy is total and absolute, while simultaneously the exposure to nature is complete and overwhelming. Running the full length of the interior is a 30-meter private swimming pool, a river of cool water cutting through the desert heat. The house generates its own power, manages its own water, and costs approximately $18 million. But the real price isn't measured in money. It's measured in the audacity to build something that powerful and then make it disappear completely.
Number 9. The Pole House. On the windswept coast of Fairhaven, Australia, where the Southern Ocean hurls itself against ancient rock formations with the kind of force that reshapes coastlines over centuries, someone decided to build a home. Not on the cliff, not near the cliff, above it, suspended above it. The Pole House is exactly what the name describes, and the name should terrify you. The entire structure, the full weight of a luxury residence with bedrooms, bathrooms, a kitchen, and a wraparound deck, rests on a single concrete column rising 40 meters from the beach below. 40 meters is roughly the height of a 12-story building. The house is essentially perched on a stiletto heel made of concrete, balanced above crashing Antarctic waves, at the mercy of weather systems that travel uninterrupted from the South Pole. To reach the front door, you walk a narrow, glass-railed catwalk extending outward from the clifftop, with nothing but open air beneath your feet. It is a deliberate ritual, a forced confrontation with the void before you're even allowed inside. The architect designed that approach intentionally. You must surrender to the height before the house will accept you. Once inside, the isolation is the point. There are no neighbors, no visible ground from any window, just horizon in every direction, the curve of the earth over the ocean, and far below, the rhythmic thunder of waves you can feel through the floor. It is the closest a human being can come to sleeping inside a lighthouse with 5-star amenities and no way back to solid ground until morning.
Number 8. A Mangiri Resort. Most architects, when faced with a desert canyon in southern Utah, would think about how to impose a structure on the landscape. The team behind a Mangiri Resort asked a completely different question. What if the building surrendered? What if instead of conquering the geology, the architecture simply disappeared into it? The result is one of the most psychologically powerful pieces of design on the planet. The resort's concrete walls were mixed with pigments extracted directly from the surrounding sandstone, matching the rust, orange, and bone white of the desert with such precision that from an aerial photograph, the buildings essentially vanish into the terrain. You have to look twice, then 3 times. The structures seem less like buildings and more like formations, like the desert grew them, like they've been there since the Jurassic period, slowly rising from the ancient seabed. The centerpiece of the entire resort is a swimming pool that breaks every rule of symmetry. Rather than a standard rectangle of water, the pool wraps itself around a massive Jurassic sandstone spur, bending and curving respectfully around the rock formation as if the water has always been there, finding its own ancient path. The suites have no fences, no clear boundaries between the inside of your room and the open desert. Coyotes wander through at night. Wind carries sand across the threshold. It is a deliberate and radical act of architectural humility, the antithesis of every other building on this list. While others scream from cliff cops, Among Giri simply sits down in the dirt and becomes part of the earth itself.
Number 7. Casa del Acantilado. On the jagged Mediterranean coastline near Kelpe, Spain, there is a piece of land that no developer ever wanted. A nearly vertical cliff face dropping straight into the sea. Unstable, impossible to build on, legally complicated, and terrifying to even look at from above. Spanish architecture firm Fran Silvestre Arquitectos looked at that land and saw an opportunity. What they built there is the Casa del Acantilado, the cliff house, and it doesn't sit on that rock, it grips it. The structure of pure white reinforced concrete anchors itself to the cliff face at multiple points, using the rock itself as part of the structural system, the way a barnacle grips a ship's hull rather than floating alongside it. The geometry is weaponized. Sharp angles and hard lines create a deliberately violent visual contrast against the organic, irregular rock and the deep Mediterranean blue stretching to the horizon. The house looks like a blade embedded in a hillside, white and surgical and completely merciless. The most audacious element is the cantilever terrace, a platform of concrete and glass that extends outward over the sea, with nothing beneath it. Standing on that terrace, the only thing between your body and a 40-meter fall into the Mediterranean is a railing of glass so clear it's effectively invisible. The architects designed it that way deliberately. They wanted the terror to be part of the experience. The vertigo is not a flaw, it is the entire point. This house exists to prove that the land nobody wanted could become the most coveted address on the coast.
Number 6. The Razor House. If the name doesn't give it away, the silhouette will. Perched on the crumbling sandstone cliffs above the Pacific at La Jolla, California, the Razor House cuts into the landscape with the cold precision of surgical steel. All polished white concrete and floor-to-ceiling glass, no soft edges, no curved walls, no compromise with the wild coastline trying to swallow it whole. The geometry is almost aggressive, straight lines, acute angles, and hard horizontal planes that clash deliberately with the chaotic organic rock below. But the reason the Razor House holds a place on this list that goes beyond architecture is cultural. Movie fans, you've already recognized it. The Razor House served as the visual and structural inspiration for Tony Stark's Iron Man mansion in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And when you stand on its main deck, with the Pacific hammering the rocks below and the endless ocean stretching to Japan, the superhero fantasy makes complete and total sense. Who else would choose this cliff? Who else would pour $30 million into a structure that the Pacific Ocean is constantly, actively, patiently trying to destroy? Every room in this house faces the ocean. The concept of an interior wall essentially doesn't exist. Glass replaces every surface that could have been solid. The constant sound of breaking waves fills the house from every direction, a soundtrack you never turn off, never mute, and never escape. The ocean is not the view from the Razor House. The ocean is the house.
Number 5. Villa Valls. Buried inside a grassy Swiss hillside in the canton of Graubünden, there is a house that you will walk directly over without ever knowing it exists. Villa Valls is built underground, not in a cave, not in a bunker, but carved precisely into the Alpine Netto, wrapped around a natural rock formation with a single circular courtyard open to the sky at its center. From the surface, you see nothing but green grass, wildflowers, and the slope of the mountain continuing up toward the tree line. The house is completely invisible from above. The architects, Sea Arch and CMA, designed the entry specifically to disorient. Residents access the house through a tunnel connecting from a nearby barn. You walk through what appears to be a farm building, descend into the earth, and emerge into a light-filled contemporary luxury home carved around a 10-meter rock face. The geological feature isn't just nearby, it's inside. The rock is a wall. The rock is a piece of furniture. The rock is the focal point of every room. The circular courtyard punched into the hillside above functions as an oculus, a hole in the earth pointed at the sky, flooding the underground rooms with natural light at every hour of the day. This house answers a question no one had previously thought to ask. What if luxury didn't mean going higher?
What if the ultimate achievement was going deeper, disappearing so completely into the earth itself that the mountain simply closes over you and the world above continues on without any idea you're even there?
Number 4. Monte Rosa Hut. At 2,883 meters above sea level near Zermatt, Switzerland, where the temperature drops to -30 and winds regularly exceed 100 kilometers per hour, the Swiss Alpine Club decided to build something extraordinary. Not a shelter, not a basic refuge, a technological marvel disguised as a mountain hut that functions with the self-sufficiency of a space station. The Monte Rosa hut is clad entirely in aluminum panels that catch and scatter sunlight like fractured crystal. From a distance, moving through the glacial terrain toward it, the structure seems to generate its own light. It glows, it pulses against the white and gray of the permanent ice field surrounding it. The logistics of building here were almost comical in their difficulty. There are no roads, no power lines, no water infrastructure. No construction vehicles could reach this altitude. Every single element of the building, every beam, every pane of glass, every bolt, was airlifted individually by helicopter, in what engineers described as a high-stakes vertical ballet that took years and millions of francs to complete. The payoff is a structure that produces 90% of its own electricity through solar panels embedded in those aluminum panels. It recycles its own water. It processes its own waste. It has Wi-Fi. Sleeping inside the Monte Rosa hut, surrounded by 4,000-meter peaks and sitting on one of the largest glaciers in the Alps, while being wrapped in technology more advanced than most hospitals, is the closest a civilian can come to spending a night in orbit without actually leaving Earth.
Number 3. Hotel Villa Honegg. On a private clifftop above Lake Lucerne in Switzerland, at an elevation where clouds form below you rather than above, sits a heated infinity pool that has been photographed more times than most world monuments. The pool at Hotel Villa Honegg maintains a perfect 34 degrees Celsius year-round. That's body temperature. That's the temperature of a warm embrace. And it maintains that temperature even in the middle of a Swiss winter, when the air around it drops to -15, and steam rises from the water's surface in thick, swirling columns that drift across the mountain air like something out of mythology. Standing in that pool, your body is wrapped in heat, while your face takes the full assault of alpine wind. The sensation is genuinely disorienting in the best possible way. Your nerve endings don't know which message to send to your brain. The pool's infinity edge drops visually into nothing, and beyond that nothing, Lake Lucerne sits approximately 800 meters below, reduced by distance to a small silver mirror reflecting the sky. The mountains that surround it, enormous limestone massifs that took hundreds of millions of years to form, become your poolside companions. They're not a backdrop, they're at eye level. You're among them. The hotel itself is a restored 1905 Belle Epoque mansion with 12 rooms, and access is strictly limited. You will not walk in off the street. You will not book a last-minute table. Villa Honegg operates on exclusivity as a design principle. The experience is rationed deliberately, because some things only retain their power when almost no one can reach them.
Number 2. Antilia. In the middle of Mumbai, India, one of the most densely populated and economically divided cities on Earth, a 27-story private residence rises from the street like a building from a planet that doesn't exist yet. Antilia is the home of Mukesh Ambani, chairman of Reliance Industries, and with a construction cost estimated between $1 and $2 billion, it is widely considered the most expensive private residence ever built in human history. The structure contains 400,000 square feet across 27 floors. To help you feel that number physically, consider this. The average American home is about 2,000 square feet. Antilia contains the equivalent of 200 of those homes stacked vertically, occupied by one family. The building includes 6 floors of underground parking for a fleet of over 160 vehicles, 3 helipads on the roof, a full-floor health center and gym, multiple swimming pools, a 50-seat private cinema, a ballroom, dedicated guest suites, a snow room that generates artificial snowfall for relaxation, and a staff of approximately 600 people to manage all of it. The architectural design is intentionally asymmetrical. No 2 floors are the same shape or configuration. This was a deliberate engineering choice to prevent the building from developing any harmonic resonance that could make it sway in high winds. Every floor is essentially a custom building stacked on top of the previous one. From the street below, it is genuinely surreal. Surrounded by neighborhoods where families of 5 share a single room, Antilia stands as the most extreme physical expression of wealth inequality in modern architectural history.
Number 1. Hang Ga Guest House.
In the city of Da Lat, Vietnam, tucked into the central highlands at an elevation cool enough for pine trees and morning fog, there is a structure that every architectural category on Earth collectively refuses to claim. It is not a house. It is not a hotel. It is not a sculpture. It is not a forest. It is somehow all four simultaneously. The Hang Ga Guest House, built by Vietnamese architect Dong Viet Na, who trained in Moscow and spent years studying the natural world with the obsession of someone who had decided that straight lines were humanity's greatest mistake. What she built in Da Lat is a network of interconnected rooms, staircases, bridges, and tunnels that crawl across and through a series of enormous artificial tree forms made of reinforced concrete. The trunks are massive. The branches extend between structures like organic bridges. The rooms are carved into the shapes of animals, giant spiders, kangaroos, bears, and eagles, with windows set into their bodies and guests sleeping inside the forms of creatures. The interior of each room continues the biological obsession. Walls undulate, ceilings drip like cave formations, corridors spiral through the tree forms with no predictable geometry whatsoever. There are no right angles anywhere in this building. None. Children call it the crazy house. Architects call it the most radical rejection of modernist convention ever executed in Southeast Asia. UNESCO has recognized it. Tourists line up for hours, and every room is still available to book for the night. Because Dong Viet Na built a living fever dream and then invited strangers to sleep inside it.
If you thought this was terrifying, you are not ready for what they found in the video on your screen. Click it right now. The truth is worse than you think.